It's Thursday, March 5th, and Salem is about to detonate. A serious sit-down could crack the truth wide open, a fragile reunion could shatter in seconds, and one important appointment may deliver a shock no one sees coming. Meanwhile, a confrontation turns deadly, because the person being questioned isn't nervous, they're in control. One conversation, one slip, one explosion. Who goes down first? Let's start with the scene that feels like a fuse already lit. Brady sits Tate and Holly down for a serious talk. This isn't Brady being casually concerned, and it's definitely not a friendly check-in. This is Brady stepping into full parent protector mode because Holly's behavior has gone beyond moodiness into something that feels volatile, unpredictable, and frankly dangerous, and Tate is close enough to get burned no matter what the truth is. What makes this sit-down so tense is that Brady doesn't walk in neutral. He walks in carrying suspicion, fear, frustration, and that gut-level sense that something has been happening right in front of him while everyone else has been trading excuses. In Brady's mind, this isn't just about teenage attitude. It's about whether someone is hiding something serious, whether someone is influencing Holly, and whether Tate has become part of the problem, or the only person who actually sees what's wrong. So Brady's approach is likely sharp and structured, because when Brady feels powerless, he goes straight to the one thing he can control: the interrogation. He wants clarity. He wants names. He wants the timeline. He wants to know exactly when Holly changed, who she's been around, and what she's been taking, because those questions don't just expose behavior, they expose patterns. And here's why the timeline part is deadly for Sophia's scheme. Schemes don't survive timelines. If Brady pins down the before and after, he can narrow the suspect list without even meaning to. The moment Holly's mood swings started, the moment the supplements appeared, the moment Rachel showed up, helping, the moment Tate noticed something was off. One clean timeline can turn a messy emotional situation into an investigation. This conversation could split into several dramatic paths, and each one is explosive. If Holly gets defensive or lashes out, Brady may read that as guilt, especially if he's already bracing himself to hear the worst. If Tate tries to protect Holly, Brady might interpret it as Tate hiding something, choosing loyalty over honesty. And if Holly breaks down, if she starts crying, spiraling, or confessing how weird she's been feeling, she could accidentally reveal details about pills or supplements that she thinks are helping her cope. That's where the danger spikes, because the audience knows what Brady doesn't. Holly's behavior isn't random, and it isn't her fault. It's connected to medication she didn't choose and may not fully understand. So Thursday's suspense becomes brutal and emotional at the same time. Does Brady push so hard that Holly shuts down and goes into self-protection mode? Or does he push just enough to pull out the first real clue that cracks the pill plot open? Mini cliffhanger. Brady's sit-down could expose the first thread of the scheme, or force Tate and Holly into a cover story that makes everything worse later. Next up, things thaw a little bit between Sarah and Xander, and that sounds hopeful, until you remember what show we're watching. In Salem, a thaw is rarely the ending. It's usually the moment right before the ice cracks. This thaw matters because it suggests Sarah is allowing Xander a small opening. Not a full reset, not a clean slate, but a moment where she stops bracing for impact and allows herself to believe, just for a second, that maybe he can choose differently. That's powerful because Sarah doesn't thaw easily. She's cautious for a reason. She's been burned, disappointed, and forced to rebuild trust too many times. So if Sarah softens, it's likely because she sees something that feels sincere. A real apology, a vulnerable admission, a moment of honesty that doesn't sound like manipulation. Or, just as realistically, she's exhausted. Tired of fighting. Tired of constant suspicion. Tired of living with her heart in defense mode. Sometimes a thaw isn't forgiveness. Sometimes it's emotional fatigue, and that's exactly why it's dangerous. Because Xander is trying to improve things with Sarah while also continuing strategy sessions with Kate. That means Xander is living in two worlds at once. The world where he wants to be a better man, and the world where he believes dirty tactics are still necessary to protect his legacy. When you attempt both, the relationship becomes unstable, not because Sarah is difficult, but because Xander is building trust with one hand while sabotaging it with the other. So Thursday's tension is psychological and razor-sharp. Is Xander genuinely present with Sarah, emotionally grounded, listening, letting her set boundaries, or is he calculating while wearing the mask of progress? And is Sarah thawing because she wants hope, or because she's tired of the war and wants peace at any cost? This scene could be written with soft dialogue and gentle energy. Maybe Sarah lets her guard down enough to remember why she loved him in the first place. Maybe Xander shows restraint for once instead of defensiveness. Maybe it even feels like the start of something real. But the shadow over it is enormous. The plan, the dirty tactics, the next move Xander believes he has to make. And that's what makes the thaw feel like a setup. Because if Sarah gives him an inch emotionally, and then she finds out he's still plotting behind her back, the betrayal doesn't just hurt. It confirms her worst fear. It turns a fragile moment of hope into proof that she was right to walk away. Mini cliffhanger. The thaw isn't the end of their war. It's the calm before Sarah learns what Xander is still doing, and decides whether love is worth the risk. Now we shift to a high-stakes emotional milestone. Johnny and Chanel head to a crucial appointment. This isn't a routine check-in, and the spoilers framing it as an important day is a big signal that the show wants viewers to feel the weight of it. When Days labels something important, it usually means this isn't just medical information. It's a turning point that affects decisions, relationships, and the couple's sense of security. This appointment matters because Johnny and Chanel aren't walking in as a carefree couple. They're walking in carrying months of pressure, the emotional strain of building a future, and the constant feeling that Salem's chaos keeps circling them. When you're already stressed, even neutral news can feel like a crisis. A minor complication can sound catastrophic. A delay can feel like a loss. Even a doctor's cautious tone can trigger panic, because uncertainty is the one thing couples like this can't stand. It forces them to wait. And waiting is where fear grows. So Thursday's emotional tension isn't built on jealousy or romance drama. It's built on the fear of losing something they've been fighting to protect. If the appointment brings reassurance, it may only be temporary relief, because in Salem, relief often lasts just long enough for someone else to interfere. If it brings uncertainty, it forces Johnny and Chanel into hard conversations. How they handle stress, how they support each other, and whether they're truly aligned when the future feels out of their control. And if the appointment introduces a new obstacle, then the marriage test teased in the weekly spoilers starts to feel real, because nothing tests a couple like pressure mixed with fear. And we can't ignore the Sophia factor looming over their lives. If Sophia is actively pulling strings, especially through Melinda, then Johnny and Chanel's appointment doesn't exist in a vacuum. It exists in a bigger battlefield where someone else is trying to influence outcomes behind the scenes. That's what makes this appointment so suspenseful. Even if the doctor's news is manageable, the outside manipulation could turn it into a crisis anyway. Mini cliffhanger. The appointment might bring answers that calm them down, but it could also introduce a new question Johnny and Chanel aren't ready to face, and that question may not come from the doctor alone. Now to the scene that could reveal just how dangerous Sophia really is. Melinda hopes to get through to Sophia. And the good luck with that energy behind this tease is important, because it suggests Sophia isn't just being difficult, she's being strategic. She's committed to her story. She believes she can outmaneuver adults who underestimate her, and that belief is exactly what makes her so hard to stop. Melinda is in a complicated position. She's not just any adult. She's trained to pressure people, read motives, and force the truth to the surface. She knows how to ask questions in a way that exposes contradictions, and she knows how to push without leaving herself exposed. But Sophia isn't the type to fold because someone lectures her. Sophia responds to leverage. She responds to fear, advantage, and control. So the real suspense here is what approach Melinda chooses, because each one carries risk. If Melinda goes gentle, appealing to empathy, warning about consequences, Sophia may nod, smile, and keep lying, because she'll sense she still has the upper hand. If Melinda goes hard, threatening exposure, demanding the truth, Sophia could escalate. She could cover tracks, shift blame, tighten her grip on Rachel, or create a new distraction that makes Melinda look like the aggressor. And if Sophia feels cornered, that's when she becomes most dangerous, because cornered schemers don't confess, they counterattack. This scene matters for one major reason. It clarifies Sophia's emotional state. Is she panicking? Is she cracking? Or is she still calm and confident? Because confidence is terrifying. A confident schemer doesn't stop when confronted. They adapt. They change the plan. They weaponize the people around them. They pick the weakest link and push. So Thursday's tension is not just, can Melinda get through to Sophia? It's also, can Melinda apply pressure without giving Sophia the chance to reposition? Because if Sophia survives this conversation without slipping, it doesn't mean she's safe. It means she's skilled. Mini cliffhanger. If Melinda gets too close to the truth, Sophia's next move might not be retreat. It might be a counterattack that drags someone else down with her. When you step back, Thursday, March 5th is all about confrontations with consequences. Brady confronts Tate and Holly, forcing the story toward exposure. Sarah and Xander confront fragile feelings, even while deception hangs overhead. Johnny and Chanel confront uncertainty about their future. Melinda confronts Sophia, and may realize Sophia is far more dangerous than anyone expected. It's the kind of episode where nobody gets to hide comfortably. So that's Thursday, March 5th. A day of sit-downs, warnings, and turning points. Now I want your theory. Do you think Brady's talk will expose the first real clue about the pills? Or will Holly and Tate end up covering in a way that buys Sophia more time? And with Sarah and Xander, is this thaw the start of reconciliation, or the setup for an even more painful betrayal? Drop your best predictions in the comments, because in Salem, the conversations that feel responsible are often the ones that trigger the biggest explosions.